Hey folks, we're back in the kitchen today. We've been picking a few cucumbers out of the garden, but we don't really have a ton of them yet, just kind of a handful. So instead of letting them get soft and all rubbery, we're going to do something with them. We're going to make refrigerator pickles. If you've never made refrigerator pickles before, it's super easy. There's no canning involved, nothing like that. You basically slice your cucumbers, mix the brine together, dump it in the jar, and put it in the fridge. It's that easy. So we got these cucumbers, not too many, probably I would say 3 pounds maybe at the most. And we got our mandolin here. We're going to use it to slice the cucumbers uniformly. You don't have to use one of these. You can just use a knife and just guess at it. It's fine. This mandolin here actually has the cutter you can pull out and switch around. It's got the fancy blade on the other side. So maybe we'll use that today. But I'm going to get these cucumbers all sliced up and then we'll show you the rest of the process. Alright, we got all our pickles cut. We use that fancy side. And I wanted to show you, if you wanted to do those sandwich stacker type pickles, you could cut them long ways like this and then they'll stack on a sandwich. But we're just going to use these round pickles, or the round slices. Okay, for 3 pounds of cucumbers, we're going to use 2 whole onions. And all I did was peel the onion, and then I sliced it into quarters, and then I cut it again into eighths. And then I just peeled the onion petals apart. I like to leave them big because those onions will be just as good as those pickles. So we're going to start mixing the brine together. And we're going to show you how that goes. So now we're going to put this brine together. You want to get a good sized sauce pot. I'm going to make a double batch of brine for these pickles because I always like having extra brine because I'll pickle other stuff, other types of vegetables too. So we're going to make a double batch. So if you only want to make for 3 pounds of pickles, you can cut this in half. But I recommend making more. You want to make sure all of your vegetables are submerged. So I got 4 cups of vinegar here, and into that you're going to put 4 cups of sugar, and you're going to put 2 tablespoons of salt. You're going to use 1 teaspoon of celery seed, 1 teaspoon of mustard seed, 1.5 teaspoons of ground turmeric, and you're going to heat this up until the sugar dissolves. You don't want any graininess to that sugar. And then as soon as that sugar dissolves, you can stop. You don't have to bring it to a boil. And then we're just going to take this pot and pour it over our vegetables, and we're going to let it cool. And as soon as it's cool, we'll put it in a jar and we'll put it in the fridge. And that's pretty much all there is to it. We'll bring you back in a little bit. All right, we got everything together for the brine. And remember, I'm making a double batch of brine. So I'll give you the recipe for the single batch if you want to do just a single batch of brine. It's going to be 2 cups of sugar, 2 cups of cider vinegar, 1 tablespoon of salt, half a teaspoon of celery seed, half a teaspoon of mustard seed, and 3/4 of a teaspoon of turmeric. This recipe also calls for garlic, so I've added the garlic in here. For the single recipe, you're only going to use 2 to 3 cloves of garlic, but since I'm doing a double, I did 4 to 5 in here. And that's the equivalent of the cloves. I use the canned garlic. So once the sugar dissolves in here and it's no longer grainy, we're going to dump that right over the vegetables. If you've ever had like a banh mi sandwich, these pickles would be fantastic on that. So if you've never had one, look that up. It's spelled, I believe, B-A-H-M or N, and M-I for me. Super good sandwich. You can do it with barbecued pork or other types of meat. We used to have the pork belly banh mi sandwich back in the day. Super good. Give that a try too. Alright folks, we got the brine dumped into veggies. You can see why I did extra. The cucumbers float a little bit, but I like plenty of brine for the pickles, like I said before. So once this cools off, and it won't take long because it didn't have to get very warm for that sugar to dissolve. I could still put my finger in it just fine. It didn't burn me or anything. But we're going to let this cool off, and then we'll just put it into a couple quart jars. This is a pint jar I did the other day, so that's what they'll look like. And you can eat these pretty much the next day. Now, if you're impatient and you want to eat these things today, if you have these food saver canisters like this that go with the vacuum sealer, put some of that mix or all of it, if it'll fit in that canister, and vacuum that canister down, and that'll cause the vegetables to contract a little bit. And then when you release the pressure, those vegetables will expand again, and they'll take up some of that brine. And you'll be able to eat them pretty much right away if you do that. I also have this that vacuums down quart jars. So I can do that right in the quart jar also. But you can pretty much eat them right away. The brine ratio is the important thing. You can screw around with the amount of vegetables and stuff like that, because they're only going to soak up so much brine. You're not going to make them a stronger or weaker flavor. The brine ratio is what you're looking for. So as long as you keep the same recipe for the brine, you can double it, triple it, quadruple it, whatever, cut it in half. As long as you don't screw with the ratio, everything's going to taste the same. So you don't need a big old pot of cucumbers to do this with. You can shrink down that brine recipe if you only have 1 jar worth of vegetables. Shrink down that brine recipe as much as you need, or scale it up as much as you need. So that's refrigerator pickles. And folks, it is that easy. It's literally taking me 20 minutes to get to this point. So easy. I guarantee you'll really love these pickles. And I suggest that you try these, because they're off the hook. My friend Kathy out in California gave me this recipe. She's been making them for years. We've been enjoying them. She brings out a bottle when we have gatherings and stuff like that. They're very close to the Taste of Home refrigerator pickles, if you've been making those. I think the Taste of Home ones don't have the garlic in it, so the garlic's kind of optional. So give these a shot. Till next time, we'll see you here on Mark Kelly Farm. We love you. Stay safe. Stay healthy.